Welcome to Straits Talk, a podcast by Straits Interactive, where we talk about value, risks, and constraints of data protection, data governance, and generative AI. I'm tech writer Grace Chung, and this is the second season of our podcast. With me is 𝗘𝗩𝗘𝗡𝗧𝗔, founder and CEO of Straits Interactive, and two good friends, Harish Pillay, who is from the 𝗙𝗢𝗪𝗧𝗪 Foundation, Dr. P, who is the Dean School of Law at the University of the Thai Chamber of Commerce and advisor to Secretary General of the Personal Data Protection Committee of Thailand. Thank you for being with us today. I think, I found that the AI laws are coming out now much faster than, the advent of new technologies, right? I think that the autonomous nature of AI has woken up many people to say that we must quickly have laws to guide us on the application. Now, what do you think?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. Obviously, the whole world is concerned. Now, if you were to compare and contrast that with the change in data protection laws in the EU, the last time the law was passed was, I believe, in 1995. They call it the EU directive. And you think about the time span from the 1995 directive to be replaced by the GDPR, right? That's a pretty long time. 2016, it was passed, and then I think it went into force in 2018. And that's a long time, right?
Yeah.
And Dr. P, what do you think, Dr. P? The contrast between the EU AI Act and the lack of the 1995 directive, and that was the time when the World Wide Web was first introduced.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it is very fascinating. And I believe that the EU AI Act is a game-changing. It's like a game-changing regulation in terms of regulations are concerned, because I think it takes about less than 4 years to actually come into pieces. Like you mentioned, compared with the GDPR, which was before, it was only the directive in 1995, so it takes like more than 10 years. But in the EU AI Act only takes like 4 years or even less than that. So it's very fascinating. And I also want to mention that what's another fascinating factor about the EU AI Act is that it actually imposes different requirements depending on your AI, depending on the level of the risk of your AI. If your AI is high risk, then you have to be complying with an array of the requirements. For example, you need to be transparency, you need to register your AI with the authority, you need to make sure that the AI has the robustness by testing your AI, and you have to do the data governance. And that's for the AI that is high risk. But if your AI is low risk, for example, like the Gen AI, you probably have to only do the transparency requirements. So it's actually fascinating in a way that it actually categorizes all these different level of risk. And the more risk you have for your AI, then it's prone for more regulations.
Harish, what you are doing with 𝗙𝗢𝗪𝗧𝗪 Foundation is in testing, right? Can you elaborate on what the importance of testing?
Yeah, I think Dr. P alluded to the testing portion. I think the testing is, at the end of the day, what will help us deploy AI solutions that can comply with the emerging rules and regulations, whether it is mandatory or even voluntary. I think that is the key thing. So the important distinction that 𝗙𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗪 Foundation brings to the table is that it is designed to help organizations to do the validation of their solutions, AI solutions, so that they do not get caught saying we did not know how to test, or we did not know what to test against, or maybe some organization tested a certain way and another set of organizations had tested in another way, and there's no consistency between them. So what 𝗙𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗪 Foundation is trying to do is to have level set the type of testing that can be done. And because this is an open source set of tools, freely available to anybody to do, so we can build on good ideas, and it's not constrained by business rules and the need to make
Right.
money out of this thing from that perspective. So the tools are meant for anyone and everybody to adopt. And so once people start using it, it becomes the norm. And so testing therefore becomes the key enabler to enable organizations to comply.
Right.
If you don't do the testing, then you have a problem.
So is this picking up now, testing?
It takes time because people are kind of like, I did test my previous solutions, but, we did it on our own way of doing tests.
Right.
Is this good enough? May not be, maybe. The testing is beginning to happen, but what we probably require to see is some kind of a validation from third-party auditors testing and saying, yes, organization A has complied with this set of testing that is provided through the AI verified toolkit, and therefore they are okay for this period of time. It all has to be time-based,
right?
And as the models evolve and change, it has to be continuously tested. So we may have to have a different way of validating and having a rubber stamp, as it were, says, yeah, you are certified that you tested it.
I want to highlight the importance of testing and validating the system, especially during the deployment stage. I think we designed the industry's first AI DPO assistant, and we were very conscious of the need to test the robustness, the reliability, and because we had a system that supposed to give recommendations on the data protection laws, we were concerned of what is called model drift, where the model is outdated based on parameters and all the new developments happening in language models, and more importantly, the data drift, because the data has been trained on could have been obsolete.
Right.
So if we think about the fact that we prepared our AI assistant, our AI DPO assistant, since then a whole bunch of new regulations and a whole bunch of new policy guidelines have been introduced. So all of these have to be brought into our system, AI system, to get it updated. So when you release your AI product, the testing needs to be continuous, right? And that's the part I worry most, because there's implications on the reliability and the accuracy of the system.
Does any of the laws or regulations, guidelines to see now, Dr. P, have anything to say about testing? Do they mention that testing is important?
Well, if we talk about it in the data protection world, but also in the AI regulations world as well, with the data protection world, security is an important part of it. And many advisory guidelines in many jurisdictions stress on the importance of having the robustness, having this testing protocol in place to make sure that your system is secure. And that applies across the board, whether you are doing AI or not. And more and more nowadays, even though many jurisdictions now have only the voluntary guidelines, but the testing of the robustness, the testing about the reliability are there. I think it's just a matter of if we are wearing hats of the regulators, well, they understand, they need to understand a bit about business, and they are trying to do that. I think some of the jurisdictions regulators are doing a very good job. So they are trying to actually give the guidelines that kind of like encompasses all the security requirements and have the elements of the importance of the testing in there to make sure that the business can comply. So I think it's, many jurisdictions are already doing that, giving good guidelines. And I think we are going to be continuing to see the developments in the regulations, that there will be more and more understanding about what's happening in the AI world, as well as the security worlds, and trying to give the guidelines that are very clear and to the point, and then keep up with the pace of the technology.
Yeah, if I could add on, if you look at the requirements for high-risk processing, the testing methodology is already understood that you will need to do. For example, you need to keep logs in an automatic and documented manner.
Okay.
And if you look at the requirements, and Dr. P, you can feel free to comment, it also asks you to develop the system for human oversight. So you always have to be aware where are all the potential issues, and also create a quality management system besides reporting serious incidents and malfunctions. So if you think about behind all of those requirements, testing is definitely a very, very important thing that you will need to do, right? So for us, when we did our AI DPO system, we had to build a whole back end to give us that oversight.
Right.
And when users answer a question, when they query a data protection law, we had to build in a feedback mechanism where you do a thumbs up or thumbs down, and we had to open the entire dashboard behind so that our own lawyers could see whether the information is accurate or not. And that's actually part of our testing methodology. I guess my point is that in any system, you've got to design that into the system in compliance with governance frameworks, or in this case, the EU AI Act.
I think that you have to design your solution with testability in mind.
That's
Right.
Continuous testability in mind.
Okay.
It's not that the developer will test and then deploy.
Right.
It has to be in deployment that you continuously test.
Right.
So in the tech world, we have something called DevSecOps.
Right.
So it is essentially doing the same thing continuously in production. And somewhere in that equation, the need for human in the loop has to come in, especially for high risk type of output scenarios. Human in the loop must be there. Otherwise, that is going to be a huge shortfall.
I also need to mention this as well. One of the requirements of the EU AI Act in the AI system that is high risk is also to have the human oversight. So I think that applies as well with other jurisdictions. If you want to look for the EU Act as a role model, or you want to actually supply the service into the EU, you need to comply with that if your AI system is high risk.
Yeah, so just to give you my 2 cents worth, obviously there's 3 kinds. There's human out of the loop.
Yeah.
Right? And that's something that you can do if it's low risk.
Low risk, yeah.
But if it's higher risk, it's either human in the loop or very high risk, or human over the loop. Right? So that is something that I think these are new concepts that we are hearing in terms of testing methodologies that we probably want to take into account.
Right.
So there will be new jobs to be created.
I'm sure. I think that AI will create new jobs rather than take jobs away. So,
Redefine it then.
yeah. So I think jobs will be redefined, but I think if you ready and take Straits Interactive Data Governance, AI Governance courses to upgrade and upskill, we will all be better prepared.
And don't forget, there's also the prompt engineering bit. People always think that prompt engineering is just about prompts. No, you're also testing it. You're also looking at making sure that the output of the prompts are also aligned to the objectives of what the AI system is supposed to be doing.
Right. Well, okay. Well, thank you very much, Dr. P and Harish and Kevin. So today, testing is very important because it ensures that we get the outcomes that we want. We must have continuous testing, not only at design, but in development and deployment, as well as application. So it's continuous, and there must always be human oversight.
And data changes.
We must also remember that data changes. It doesn't stay still. Well, thank you very much, Dr. P and Harish and Kevin, for listening to us today.
Thank you.